The rise and fall of communism in Poland, how Poland persevered, and the events that formed her into the strong nation she is today. In 1947, Poland officially became the Communist People's Republic of Poland, which was the result of a rigged Russian election. The first thing Russian officials did upon their gaining control of Poland was order the slaughter of 22,000 Polish officials by the secret police. The Russians then blamed this massacre on the Germans through a propaganda film that even showed Russian soldiers laying flowers on the mass graves they dug themselves. The Russians continued to deny these actions for many, many years. The USSR continued to show its domination over Poland through many statues and monuments displaying their powerful army and leaders. Many of these statues remain in Poland today, and an effort is continually being made to take them down over time. The Pałac Kultury i Nauki, or Palace of Culture and Science, was a so-called gift from the USSR to Poland, even though Polish workers were forced to build it and the country even had to pay for it. Today it dominates the Warsaw skyline, and it is debated whether or not to demolish it because of what it once represented. Communism continued to oppress the Polish people, and daily life became increasingly difficult. Food shortages became critical in many areas of the country, and sometimes moving about was even restricted if you did not have official permission. Armed Soviet figures were everywhere in order to maintain the peace and settle uprisings if they were to occur. Life was truly very controlled and oppressed, and people often felt nervous about speaking too freely, as they wanted to avoid any punishment from Soviet soldiers. My own mother was born in the 1970s and grew up in the peak of the communist era in Poland, and tells about her experiences and how life was during that time.
Life in communist Poland, it wasn't easy. There was many shortages. I remember even being young. I remember shortages of food, things like bread, flour. These are basics. For whatever reason, toilet paper was always a thing that was low or not existent. So that was while I was there. I remember as I got older and I came to the US, talking with my cousins, that just continued as they got older, and their recollection was just basically waiting in long lines. So if things were not available and then there was a shipment that came in, people obviously flocked and stood in line for hours, round blocks, waiting for their basics. So life was not easy.
As life kept becoming more and more difficult for Poles around the country, a deep feeling throughout the public was that something had to be done to take down their oppressors. The workers at the Gdańsk shipyard started a trade union called Solidarność, meaning solidarity, in September of 1980. This trade union quickly turned into an entire movement against the oppression of the communist Soviets in Poland. The group was headed by Lech Wałęsa, and it was the first free trade union in the Eastern Bloc. They had massive public support, around 9.4 million Poles, and utilized powerful yet non-violent anti-communist movement protests. As Solidarność gained support and power, Lech Wałęsa started to demand certain things from the government for the people. The three main things he demanded at first were better worker pay, no censorship, and more equal benefits for the workers. The government had to oblige to Wałęsa's 1980 demands due to the fear of the public, the church, and the Western world reacting negatively. The Catholic Church also had a huge role in starting and completing the fight against communism, as they had huge influence over the nation. Pope John Paul, a proud Polish man himself, was pope during this time, and he pushed for the end of communism in Poland in many ways and is regarded as a hero for helping end the oppressive era there. Father Jerzy Popiełuszko even sacrificed his life for the fight against communism, as he spoke out very openly against it and was associated with the Solidarność movement. He was unfortunately murdered by Polish communist police and is regarded as a martyr and hero in Poland and around the world, as his actions will never be forgotten. On the 19th of March, 227 Solidarność members were killed, and a massive strike of Gdańsk shipyard workers ensued. This became the largest strike in all of Soviet bloc history. This was the point where the government had lost almost all control of Poland, as the Solidarność movement gained unimaginable support and power over the nation. Just as people started to see hope in this, Wojciech Jaruzelski became president with the primary goal of regaining control of the nation and cracking down on the Solidarność movement. He issued martial law which restricted almost all movement and freedoms of Polish people and truly was a cruel leader. As the resilient Polish people continued to resist and Solidarność remained strong, in 1983 martial law was lifted and talks with Solidarność members and the government finally happened. During this time, Solidarność was at its peak and had the most support it had seen, and Gorbachev became leader in the USSR, and they announced that they would no longer support failing Soviet states, which included Poland. The Roundtable Agreement took place on the 4th of April 1989 and settled that Poland would have free trade unions, 6-term presidents, and a Senate. In October of the same year, Jaruzelski was kicked out, and in December of 1990, Lech Wałęsa became the first democratic president of Poland, ending communism in Poland forever.
I think adversity in life makes people stronger, and I've certainly seen the adversity of communism in Poland, and I think it's what has made the country and people so resilient today.
Today, Poland has one of the most stable economies in the EU, and they truly have used their past adversities to strengthen themselves and form themselves into the nation they are today.